Hello fans, welcome back to my GH Fans channel. I just realized Cassius is not pretending to be Nathan to destroy Maxie. He is pretending to be Nathan because somebody in Port Charles needs Maxie to destroy herself. I know that sounds shocking, but I need to start there because the moment I look closer at this new not Nathan nightmare, I stopped seeing it as a simple fake identity storyline. I stopped seeing Cassius as just another mysterious man with stolen memories, copied gestures, and a face that makes half of Port Charles freeze in disbelief. What I see now is something darker. I see a trap built around grief. I see Maxie being pulled toward a brutal truth she is not emotionally ready to face. And I see Jocelyn walking straight into a secret so dangerous that even Britt, of all people, may be terrified to say it out loud. I want to set the scene exactly where the drama begins. Cassius has been moving through Port Charles like a ghost, wearing Nathan's shadow. He knows just enough to make people hesitate. He knows names, dates, places, old PCPD details, and private moments that should have died with Nathan. But every time I watch him get close to Maxie, I feel the same thing. Something is wrong. Not loud wrong. Not obvious wrong. The terrifying kind of wrong. The kind where a man says the perfect words at the perfect time with the perfect face and somehow still feels empty. Maxie, of course, wants to believe. I cannot blame her. I refuse to make Maxie look foolish in this story because that would be too easy and too cruel. Maxie is not blind. Maxie is wounded. There is a difference. She sees the cracks. She hears the strange pauses. She notices when Cassius reacts too late, or smiles too perfectly, or remembers facts without remembering feelings. But every time her instincts scream at her, her heart begs her to stay quiet. Because if she says out loud that this man is not Nathan, then she has to lose Nathan all over again. And that is why Maxie does not expose him first. That is the painful twist nobody saw coming. Maxie is not the detective in this story, because Maxie is the crime scene. Her grief is where the real villain left fingerprints. Her hope is the weapon being used against her. Her love for Nathan is not weakness, but someone has learned how to turn it into a lock, and Cassius is the key being forced into it. Then Jocelyn enters the picture, and this is where everything shifts. I want Jocelyn to be the person who sees what no one else can, not because she is smarter than everyone, but because she is colder about Nathan. She did not love him the way Maxie did. She did not work beside him the way Dante did. She did not build her life around the memory of him. That distance gives her clarity, and clarity in Port Charles can be more dangerous than a gun. At first, Jocelyn only notices one tiny thing. Cassius is with Maxie at the Metro Court, and Maxie mentions James. Just a casual mention. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that should matter. But Cassius answers too fast. He says the right thing, but he says it like a man reciting a line he studied, not like a father figure remembering a child. Jocelyn catches it. I picture her going completely still because she has seen liars before. She knows the difference between memory and rehearsal. But that is not enough. Not yet. So Jocelyn starts watching him. She does not announce it. She does not run to Maxie with accusations. She watches. And the more she watches, the more disturbing it gets. Cassius knows things he should not know, but he does not know things he should. He remembers case files, but not emotional scars. He remembers Nathan's badge number, but not the tiny human details that made Nathan real. He can talk about Maxie's past, but he cannot feel the weight of it. And that, to me, is when Jocelyn understands the brutal truth. Cassius was not given Nathan's soul. He was given Nathan's data. But then comes the first small twist. Jocelyn breaks into a restricted digital archive with help she absolutely should not be asking for, and she finds something that makes my stomach drop. The files Cassius appears to be using are not only from old PCPD records. Some of them come from personal backups, old messages, old photos, private audio, things that were never supposed to be accessible. And the most shocking part is not that someone stole Nathan's digital history. The shocking part is that someone inside Port Charles helped package it. I know the obvious suspect would be Spinelli being hacked, but I would not go there in the easy way. Instead, I would have Spinelli become horrified when Jocelyn shows him the metadata. He recognizes the structure, he recognizes the encryption, and then he says something that chills the whole room. This was not stolen from me. This was copied before I ever secured it. That means the plan started years ago. But that still is not the whole story, because Britt is watching Jocelyn watch Cassius, and Britt knows I would play Britt like someone walking around with a match in one hand and gasoline in the other. She is snarky, defensive, and pretending not to care, but every time Cassius gets close to Maxie, Britt looks like she is about to be sick. Not because she hates Maxie, not because she wants Nathan erased, but because Britt knows Cassius is not just an imposter, he is evidence. Jocelyn corners Britt outside General Hospital after seeing Britt slip Cassius a small black case. Britt tries to brush her off. She says Jocelyn is in over her head. She says this is not some college mystery. She says people who ask the wrong questions in Port Charles usually end up being mourned by people who were warned. But Jocelyn does not back down. And that is when Britt gives her the first real clue. Stop asking who he is. Ask who needed Maxie to believe him. That line changes everything. Because suddenly, this is not about Cassius proving he's Nathan. This is about Cassius getting Maxie to do something. And once I start asking what Maxie has that someone else needs, the story opens like a locked room. Maxie has access to people. She has trust. She has history. She has emotional pull over Dante, Lulu, Spinelli, and half the hospital. If Cassius can make Maxie believe he is Nathan, then Maxie becomes his shield. Anyone who questions him looks cruel. Anyone who pushes too hard looks heartless. Maxie's grief becomes Cassius's protection. Then the next twist hits. Cassius does not ask Maxie for money. He does not ask her for police files. He does not even ask her to run away with him. Instead, he asks her to remember something. A night. A phone call. A phrase Nathan supposedly said before everything fell apart. Maxie freezes. Because she does remember something, but not clearly. It is buried under trauma. Cassius gently pushes. He tells her it matters. He tells her Nathan trusted her with it. He tells her love means remembering. And that is when I would make the audience realize the nightmare. Cassius is trying to unlock a memory inside Maxie. Not a password. Not a flash drive. A memory. I would have Jocelyn discover that Nathan, before his death, stumbled across a sealed internal investigation tied to a medical transport company, a company that later changed names, disappeared, and came back under a shell connected to Sidwell. Nathan may have hidden something, but he did not hide it in a safe. He hid the clue in a phrase only Maxie would understand. He disguised it as something romantic, something ordinary, something no criminal would recognize unless they knew exactly where to look. Cassius does not need Maxie's love. He needs her trauma to open. Meanwhile, Dante begins to crack. He wants to believe his instincts, but every time he looks at Cassius, he sees Nathan. And Lulu, who has been watching Dante spiral, finally says the thing no one wants to say. If he is fake, then somebody built him for us. That is the line that turns grief into paranoia. Because now everyone who reacted to Cassius becomes part of the experiment. Maxie was tested. Dante was tested. Lulu was tested. Britt was watched. Jocelyn was underestimated. Then comes the moment where Cassius almost wins. He takes Maxie to the chapel at General Hospital because he knows Nathan once found her there during one of the worst nights of her life. The setting is cruel, intimate, manipulative. Cassius tells Maxie he remembers the promise. He tells her he remembers what Nathan said. He tells her to close her eyes and say the words with him. And Maxie does. For one horrifying second, I think she is lost. I think grief has swallowed her whole. I think Cassius has finally forced open the door he was sent to unlock. Maxie whispers the phrase. Cassius's face changes. Just slightly. Not emotional. Victorious. And Jocelyn, hiding nearby, sees it. That is the moment Jocelyn knows Cassius has been exposed, even before anyone says it out loud. But here comes the biggest twist. The phrase Maxie gives him is fake. Maxie knew. Not from the beginning, not fully, but in the chapel, she finally sees it. Nathan would never have pushed her like that. Nathan would never have turned her pain into a test. Nathan would never have needed her to prove love by bleeding on command. So Maxie gives Cassius the wrong phrase and watches him accept it. That is how she confirms the truth. Not with DNA, not with a police file, with love. With the one thing nobody could copy. Jocelyn bursts in with proof. Dante arrives right behind her. Britt comes in last, pale and furious, and finally says Cassius' real name. Cassius tries to deny it, but Maxie stops him. I want her voice calm. Deadly calm. She tells him, you knew Nathan's history. You knew his face. You knew how to hurt me. But you did not know him. And then she says the line that destroys him. Nathan would have protected my heart. You tried to pick the lock. For 1 second, Cassius looks ashamed. And that is the cliffhanger inside the climax. Because suddenly, I am not sure he is only a villain. Maybe he was conditioned. Maybe he was programmed. Maybe he was promised a life if he completed the mission. Maybe he did not choose to become Nathan's ghost. But before anyone can get answers, Britt notices the black case is gone. The case Jocelyn saw earlier. The case Cassius carried. The case everyone forgot during the confrontation. And then Maxie's phone rings. Unknown number. She answers, trembling. Nobody speaks at first. Then a distorted voice says, Thank you, Maxie. The wrong memory was still enough. That is where I would cut the episode. Because now the story is not over. Cassius has been exposed, but the real enemy has not. Maxie outsmarted the imposter, but someone outsmarted all of them. Jocelyn found the lie, Britt knows the origin, Dante wants justice, and Cassius may be the only living clue to a conspiracy that began long before he ever walked into Port Charles wearing Nathan's shadow. And the final image I would leave viewers with is Cassius looking directly at Maxie, no longer pretending, no longer smiling, and whispering one sentence that changes everything. I was not the first. Then I would fade to black. Because if Cassius was not the first fake, the terrifying question is simple. Who else in Port Charles is not who I think they are?